G'day guys, welcome. This game thinking about this game against the Western Bulldogs. This Sunday, another Sunday game at 3:20, this time at Marvel Stadium. What is that, our second game there for the season? I think it may be the fourth time the Western Bulldogs have played there. We played there, the third game, we did play Fremantle there as well. It's been keeping me up at night and then waking me early in the morning thinking about this. And I suppose my main train of thought is trying to build a case for us to go into this game really confident from a supporter point of view. I don't know, internally, got no idea. I mean, you would want our players to have the utmost belief and our match committee utmost belief that we can get the job done. But the fact of the matter is we haven't been able to get the job done. And how many times do we get beaten around to the head before belief, I suppose, becomes just that belief, something which is intangible and something which in the end just lacks validity or substance if we have another loss to a top team. And there's this group which I dubbed last week the Blue Collar Blues, which I love. Maybe they're not good enough. Maybe the likes of blokes who I really like who've come into the team, who've given us so much in regards to energy and effort and work rate, the likes of Cottrell, Parks, you think about what Owies did last week, and there's a few others, Gibbo, Nunes, Ed Curnow. Maybe they're not going to be good enough to get the job done as a collective. Maybe it's the guys underneath who are learning now in a VFL system about work rate. Maybe it's them with more talent that will eventually come in, and that is when we make the next step. I don't know, but the 22 that takes the field this week against the Western Bulldogs, we've got to go in with a mindset that we're going to get the job done. But it's not easy because we're up against an opposition who got done last week, who was sitting 6-1 on the ladder, and who've got arguably the best midfield in the competition, and I'll get to that later on. But I've been clutching at straws. A lot of my thoughts about winning this game have been possibly clutching at straws, and I started with who the fuck have the Bulldogs actually beat? And, you go right through round one, they beat Collingwood. They got hold of the Eagles at Marvel in a really close game, and we know how the Eagles travel away from home. They smashed North, who most sides will probably do this year. They got very lucky against Brisbane. They got them in Ballarat when I think the Brisbane Lions were in maybe a 3-week period here in Victoria. Got Gold Coast at Marvel, GWS, not in Sydney but in Canberra, and they got beaten by the Tigers last week, who, look, are the best team in the competition. They weren't that far behind Richmond, but the Richmond didn't have their best player in Dustin Martin. I think they're a 2 or 3 goal better team with Dusty in that side. So I think they've still got a bit to prove as well. I really do. I think as a genuine premiership contender, like a lot are dubbing them, I think they've got a lot to prove. Although they are in the sweet spot. They really are. I think they're right in the sweet spot. But they came back to earth last week. And we had a good win last week against a team that can be dangerous in Essendon. And there was so much to like about that performance and the way we hit back. There was so much to like in the way we moved the ball, particularly, midway through that second quarter. But if you read between the lines about what David Teague said in his conference post-game, the areas of concern about team defence, defending the ground, particularly on turnover, and winning the ball back, these are the problems that have been consistent for the whole year against top quality opposition. And these are the problems that the best teams in the competition will exploit quite easily. And with a midfield like the Western Bulldogs have, if we play in the manner which we did last week against Essendon, we're not going to be able to get the 4 points unless the Bulldogs are completely off and are 5% off, like they have been against us, I think. And that's not to discredit our performance against them the last 3 times, but I think they've matured a little bit over the last couple of years, the Western Bulldogs. I really do. So I then started thinking about those 3 performances. We've had, 2 of them, we clearly had the better of them. That 44-point win back round 5 in 2019 under Brendan Bolton, where we had SBS and Patrick Cripps just to win a mountain of ball and Harry on fire in the forward line. The narrow 3-point loss, I think it might have been in David Teague's second game, where we nearly stole it after being well behind in the last quarter. And then we really got hold of them at Metricon last year. I think it may have even been the first game in the hub. We smashed them by 50-odd points. And, maybe that puts a seed of doubt in the minds of Luke Beveridge and his players that, we're playing against a team here that has a particularly good record against us over the last couple of years. So I was thinking about that as well. I was also thinking about selection as well and the dilemmas associated to which way we go, firstly. And I don't know, it's just so hard. Obviously, if Jack's available, does he place Gov? I'm thinking, a lot of people have Dow out, but surely, only through injury, but surely Dow, if he's right to go, and by all reports he trained today, if he was suffering from concussion, he wouldn't play. There's no fracture to his cheekbone or his eye socket, by all reports. And if he trained strongly today, he has to play. He just has to play. I don't see why they would be protecting him. So there's that. Does Murph come straight back in if he's right to go? Who do we drop if Williams is ready and he's over his soreness? This whole debate about Levi and TDK and what do we do with TDK? Personally, I think we just need to cool our jets a little bit on TDK and give him maybe at least another 1 to 2 more games in the VFL. Although if we were brave and we were bold, I wouldn't be bringing him straight into the ruck, not against the Stephen Martin and a Tim English who've had a full season under their belt. But could we play TD go forward and give him pinch hits in the ruck and just to replace Levi? All these things must be going through the mind of David Teague and his selection committee. And then what do we do? The players under fire at the moment. Nunes, Gibbo. I'm hearing Cottrell at the moment, which surprises me. The ability for Cottrell to work both ways on his wing has been really important, particularly last week. Do we need to bring in more midfield strength? So if Williams does come in, who do we drop? Do we just drop another midfielder to bring Williams in? Or do we go even a little bit more radical and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because we know the clear strength of the Western Bulldogs is their midfield and they bat so deep. So what are we bringing in midfield strength? Is it to go head-to-head or is it to try and protect our defence? And I'll get to that in a second. But, if we made multiple changes and wanted to bring in the likes of a Setterfield or a Kennedy or even an O'Brien who's working really well in the VFL at the moment, and we wanted to bring SBS, who was a sub last week, and bring him onto the field and leave him there, and Dow plays and Williams comes in, who do we drop? A guy who possibly we don't need against the Western Bulldogs? And they're the questions that need to be asked. Could it be a Liam Stocker that goes out of the team? I know that's not going to sit well with a lot of supporters, but if you want to bring another midfielder in to combat their strength, is it Liam Stocker who goes out? Is it a Lockie Plowman? And I'm not saying them boys have been good and okay, but these are the things that you have to consider. and reality hits about the strength of this midfield. And we're talking about a midfield of theirs that generates so much ball and uses it really well. And their ability to spread is incredible, and their ability to use it by hand is incredible as well. So even if they get tackled or corralled, they have this almost innate ability to find someone in close space. It's incredible to watch the Western Bulldogs when they're on song in that regard. So our pressure will need to be at its absolute elite. And have we got that in us? I'm not quite sure. So for me, it's about their midfield, which is clearly better than ours at the moment. If it can supply their forwards with enough looks and protect at the same time, because they work really well both ways, and they're a midfield that's right in the sweet spot in terms of age and profile. So they provide so much ball inside 50, but also, I think, protect what seems to be a miserly defence of the Western Bulldogs, but they protect them because I think the Western Bulldogs want to protect that back 6 and 7, because I think it is their Achilles heel. And it's hard to see them losing if they get on top of that midfield, and it's as simple as that. So, and then do we trust ours? Do we actually trust our midfield at the moment, which I think is a clear weakness of ours? One, to win enough ball. It's all duck or no dinner at the moment with Sam Walsh. It really is. Then, do we trust our midfield to actually use it well? Is a question mark. I think Cunningham's added a little bit of strength to that at the moment. More importantly, make the right decisions and then work hard both ways, particularly defensively. And let's face it, I mentioned Walsh, Sam Walsh, then who else? He's a third-year player. He'll have a third-year player as a counterpart in Bailey Smith, who you look down their list, is probably, Bailey Smith on their list is probably their fourth or fifth best midfielder. Whereas Sam Walsh is clearly our best and streaks ahead at the moment. And I've got a feeling in this game that the Western Bulldogs could really target Sam. They really could. They could really go after him. I've just got a feeling they might. It could be the first time that we see not so much a hard tag, but some real physicality to Sam Walsh. And I think he's got it in to respond. But I just think they'll notice that he really has been our barometer in just about every aspect through that midfield. Look, Curnow's been solid. He'll probably get some type of run we roll. He hasn't been purely hard lockdown. Who it is, I don't know. It could be any of McRae, Treloar. He might even go to a Bailey Smith. Who knows? But he's been solid. Curnow. Cripps is still a fair bit off his best. Cunningham has been a clear positive over the last couple of weeks. Then we're running through bits and pieces through there. Fold gets opportunities. If Murph comes in, he gets a little bit of a look in there. Gibbo at times. And Dow as well has had a little bit of midfield time as well. But let's have a look. This is who they're dealing with without Dunkley. It's doing my head in. Bontempelli, McRae, Adam Treloar, Liberatore, who is their like real, not so much barometer, but he's their hard nut. But what we sort of miss out with Tom Liberatore is that he's a really smart and clever footballer and uses the ball really well. So he's not so much the complete package, but don't underestimate his ability to win the ball and use it really well as being tough. You got Lockie Hunter floating in off the wings with his mate Bailey Smith, and not to mention Stephen Martin and Tim English up against Mark Pitnet and Levi Casbolt. And English missed last week, but his ability to go forward and be a threat down there is dangerous as well. And I looked at the numbers, and this is where it started to really scare me. We are probably going to have to keep the Western Bulldogs to, I don't know, below 50 in inside 50s, to even probably have a chance. At best, somewhere in the vicinity of 55, maybe. If they get more than 60, we're rat shit. Unless our defence absolutely plays out of their skin. Because I don't know whether our midfield has the capabilities to keep them and to control that, and our half forwards to control that ball movement, the uncontested possessions, to limit that. And the Bulldogs have gone, this is what they've gone this year, they've gone 60 inside 50s, 51, 64, 61, 64. They dropped to 49. I think it may have been against the Giants, but still won pretty easily. And then last week was the outlier against the Tigers, where they only had 43 and kicked 7 goals in a tight tussle. So I don't know how we fix that in a week. So is it about selection? Is it about structure? And how do we fix that? I've got no idea how we fix that. Then we look at, why if they get that much ball, if they get more than 50, 55, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, because the amount of looks, the amount of opportunities, because we know Norton, okay, Norton is a very good forward, and I know he misses goals, but he's a very good forward, but he's going to have a very good defender on him. But you can only stop so much ball coming in. Bruce is inconsistent, but can he jump at the ball, and he's fairly hard working. And then the really difficult matchup of Tim English, if he goes forward as well. He's kicked 9 goals in 6 games. And who gets that? I mean, does Parks go to Bruce and Jones goes to English? That's going to be an interesting sort of scenario as well. And they might get Latham Vandermeer back as well. He's got some terrific speed. And is that a match-up for, say, someone like a Plowman or a Stocker? Who knows the way that looks as well. But they don't really have a dynamite small forward, but they can get on the end if they get enough looks. We look at Anthony Scott. Mitch Hannon's down there is at medium size. I think they might have even been playing Riley West down there as a small forward as well. And then the interesting one is the Western Bulldogs protecting that back six. Just like we haven't been able to, for the most part this year against good quality opposition, protect our back six from a team defensive point of view, they do it probably just as well as any other team in the competition. And when you look at the numbers, the scores that they've conceded this year, the Western Bulldogs, they're pretty low. I think the highest score they conceded was 97 points against the Eagles at Marvel, who've got a pretty crack forward line, they're pretty dangerous forward line, but that's the highest score they've conceded. Or it might have been 93 points, I think it may have been, but they've gone, these are the inside 50s that they've gone 41 against, 47 against, 33 against, 44 against, 39 against, and 42 against. Imagine being a fucking defender, okay, playing in a football team like the Western Bulldogs where, you're not having the ball come down 100 miles an hour, okay? Like our defence has had a lot of the times this year against those top quality opposition. So I don't know. It just seems to me that is going to be the difference in this game. Because if you look at their defence, I mean, Keith is good. Not a bad intercept defender. He'll probably get Harry. Harry's done a number on Zane Cordy before. Cordy's serviceable, does a job. But he's been in and out of the team over the last 12 months. And I think Easton Wood, as much as he's been a terrific footballer, I think he's probably past his athletic best. So that's an interesting one. And I think they really miss a bit of that sort of in-between player, like a Bailey Williams is out with a collarbone at the moment. They've got some big ball winners down there who'll need to be watched. Obviously, Callum Daniel and Bailey Dale, who's made a terrific transition from an opportunist forward to a real sort of ball winner across half back. If they start to get a lot of drive and uncontested possessions from those two, that just makes that whole team defence scenario looked pretty a real headache for us on Sunday. I want to believe that we can get this job done. I am so looking forward to selection, and I'm so looking forward to what we do. I think there might be a few surprises pulled in regards to some tweaks in players playing where, just to combat that strength of that Western Bulldog midfield. We have to go into this game with belief. We also have to go into this game with a mindset that we've done this job before against this team. And although they are a better team than they were 12 months ago, we need to understand that if we're going anywhere, we need to understand that we're a better team than what we were 12 months ago as well. Actually really looking forward to this one.